Hello and welcome back to RamsTalkPodcast. And we're here today after Derby's third consecutive draw. We've drawn with Southampton this time, which is a bit more respectable than the other two, I think. But there were some signs of improvement there. I think there's a lot more positivity around the fan base at the minute. We're very negative after Charlton, very negative after Wrexham. But here we are after a draw with a recently relegated Premier League side and didn't look too bad, and probably, as we'll get on to, probably maybe actually could have done a little more and ended up with the 3 points. So joining me today to talk all the way through it is a man currently not looking at the camera, Callum Boocock. How you doing, mate?
I'm good. I'm trying to retweet, make sure we get all those people being able to tune in. No, I'm all good. I'm all good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm decent, thank you. I'm decent. And we've also got Chris Hubbard. How you doing, Chris?
Hello, gang. I'm very, very well. Good to see you all again. Another busy weekend of kids football, another crashing defeat for my under-14s today. So back to earth with a bump. But yeah, really enjoyed yesterday. So looking forward to getting into it.
As is the way, mate. Always the way.
Always is for us.
But yeah, I know. It's a proper roller coaster, isn't it, playing on a Saturday and a Sunday? But let's get straight into it and let's talk about the system that Derby played. Now, a lot was made after the previous two games where Derby kind of messed around with formations. We played a back three, we played a back four. We had a couple of different players dip in and out. Callum Elder at left back. Callum's got a visitor in his bedroom currently. And Derby just seemed to mess around with teams and players, and it didn't really look structured. Callum, I thought straight away, Derby's setup looked pretty good, actually. You know, we made 3 changes. Aiman, Fozzie and Ozo came in. Most importantly, and probably the most interesting one, Ibu Adams dropped to the bench. What did you make of that?
Yeah, look, it was something that I was talking about when on social media that we probably needed something altering that central midfield. For me, I just think Ibu Adams and Travis are too similar and occupy the same space and want to do the same role within the team that it doesn't really operate. And we kind of saw that in the second half when both of them were on the pitch. And we'll go to talk about that a little bit later. But so I think Ozo coming in just means that you can have a ball playing midfielder within there. Travis can then link up with that. He has the ability to play with his feet, but it's not then the sole reliance on him because that's not his game, and it means he can do his game and kind of break up the play and give it to Ozo. And I mean, the stats said it for all to see for David Ozo is 100% capacity completion. And occupying the right areas, finding the pockets and holding on to the ball. I think that was the first game this season that we've seen the old David Ozo from when we saw him at the start of last season. The way he uses his body and keeps the ball under pressure. And I think that hopefully Eustace is now seeing what he can offer and give a bit of confidence into David Ozo himself.
Yeah, that's definitely good to see, isn't it? I think he really grew into the game, as did a lot of the team, actually. I think, well, we'll get on to the nightmares start very shortly. But Chris, looking at that team, it says on FotMob it's a 4-2-3-1. I don't think it was. It's more of a 4-4-2, wasn't it? I mean, the right setup for you?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the thing is, against Charlton, we played a 4-4-2 on Tuesday, but it was very lopsided. Because we had Brereton Diaz that just kept coming in to the centre. We had Clark on the right, who never really wanted to be out there anyway. And it was all a bit of a mess. And it kind of meant that Carlton Morris, without wanting to get into too much detail regarding Tuesday's game, he started as a number 10. He then ended up on the left. He was then centre forward and ended up on the right. And you're just not getting the best out of him. And I just thought Saturday we looked a lot more balanced. Yeah, Bobby Clark was on the left, and that means you could cut inside. Weimann sort of stayed out on the right, and then it was kind of a really old school, old-fashioned centre forward straight through the middle, and we just looked a lot more balanced, I thought. So I can see us actually playing this way for quite a while now, because I think with Aiman and Morris, it means that we've got kind of a double threat up there. So for me, this is probably how I think we should stay for a while anyway.
Yeah, I think I probably agree with you, to be honest. We've got a question from Richard Greaves. Results today, Jake. A draw and a win. A win and a defeat. One was a draw that went to penalties. We won on penalties. And the other one was a defeat. You can't win them all, Richard. You can't win them all. First defeat of the season for me, playing or managing. Devastating. Thought the run would last the whole season, but, can't have everything. Can't have everything. Let's get on to that start of the game. Now, I agree with Chris. I think the setup was pretty decent. I think it looks probably the best we could do with what we had available, with the I guess maybe lack of number 10, with Brewster still coming back to fitness. But Derby started terribly, Cal, really badly, and I sent a message to the chat I've got with my friends who just talk about football and stuff, and I sent after Southampton scored that goal, we could get trounced here because we didn't touch the ball for the first 10 minutes. They passed it round us. We looked slow. We looked sluggish. Only one time this season, I'm pretty sure, Derby have actually gone ahead in the league. I'm pretty sure we've gone behind almost every other game this season. And Cal, it was no different against Southampton. The goal, I mean, I don't even know what to say about it. David Ozo, who did have a very good game, don't get me wrong, for some reason decides to let it run, just leaves the ball, lets it run. And they've got a player who runs through, beats 3 or 4 players. You watch the replay, he does get a little bit lucky. He gets a couple of ricochets that fall back to his feet, and he just slots in the bottom corner. It was typical, wasn't it, Cal? And it's been that way for Derby all season, where we just have a massive defensive clangor in us every game, and it just seems to be coming to bite us every game. I mean, what did you make of it?
I mean, you were right, I think, when you look at the start. I think at the start of most games, I think Wrexham was probably the only one, and that was probably only first 20 seconds, and then it lasted about 15 minutes and kind of petered out. I think we're struggling to start games on the front foot, and I think whether that's mindset, whether that's just been sluggish in Eustace mentioning that about match fitness and stuff like that. I don't know what it is, but we are not starting games on the front foot at all. I think we're on the back foot. We only seem to really like get into gear when we go a goal down and make it hard for ourselves. And then it's almost like, oh, we've actually got to, actually play football. And I think that the goal itself, when I watched it, yes, it was very frustrating, and because it just is, it's almost like kids football that no one wants to make a tackle or anything. But I think potentially it's just because of where he was in the box, because I think no one wants to give away a penalty. Armstrong is very, very tricky with the ball. I think he was a bit fortunate with the one play, but you've got 3 players around him. He shouldn't, even if you just stand him up. But I think because he was in the box making a go of it, he knows that no one's going to want to put their foot in and give away a penalty. So he's probably got the upper hand in that sense. But when you're looking on paper and from viewing in the stadium and from watching it at home, it's so frustrating because it's a goal that Eustace will be tearing his hair out, because you can't even train for that. That's just like easy defending.
Yeah, and you can forgive the players in the box maybe slightly for not wanting to dangle a leg. I mean, we've seen it a couple of times this season. Sanderson was guilty of it first off when he first came into the side, dangling a leg, giving away a penalty. Ozo's done the same as well. Yeah, when he played at Ipswich. So I can kind of understand the hesitancy a little bit in not wanting to do that again. But running through 3 players is poor, isn't it? It is poor. You don't see that very often. But Chris mentioned already the worst bit about it, and I can see in the comments at the minute that they're talking about Ozo. He did have a really good game. He did genuinely have a really good game. And like you said, he grew in confidence and he carried the ball really well at times, and he offered something that we didn't have before. But for that goal, the only reason we're in that position is that moment of, I don't even know what he was doing. I don't know if he didn't know the player was there. I don't know what he was thinking, but he just lets it run across his body, and it's just really, really poor. Do you think that just comes from him not being fully match sharp? He's hardly featured so far this season. Do you think that was just an element of that?
No, I don't. I actually think if you look at it, it's probably not actually that much. It's not really his fault. I think he probably just thought that, there's no problem here because Armstrong is 5'0", and Forsyth's going to deal with it, and he doesn't. And then he had Travis next to him, and he didn't deal with it either. And then Matt Clark was then behind, and he had 2 goes at it, and the ball ricochets off, and Armstrong sort of wriggles through. And they're probably all thinking, well, these are all big guys. And the next thing you know, he's 5'0", and he's through. And where we sit in the ground, we were literally right in line with that behind it. And you sat there and go, there's so many bodies here. And then the next thing, this blue and yellow blob comes through, and where the hell's he come from? And the ball's in the back of the net. I mean, it's a very good finish. So I don't really think Ozo is actually too much to blame here. It's actually, I'd be looking at the others saying, well, look, you're the centre halves. You've got to deal with it. Sanderson then can't get across, and it's in the net. So, like you say, it's under 14s defending, really. And it's just one of the things. But I mean, to be fair, they could have been 3 up by then. I mean, Manning had a great chance literally the first minute and puts it wide. He then has a free kick. So they actually went for us quite a lot. And, they probably thought we were for the taking at that point. But, fair play. We then start to pick it up.
Well, that's it. And after that ball hits the back of the net, Derby were a different team. I thought the confidence grew. Maybe it feels a little bit like we have to go a goal down for us to want to take risks, Cal. Do you think? Because, we've seen it in quite a few games and we've seen it historically. When a goal goes in, heads don't tend to drop. We tend to build up and think, okay, we can take some risks now. We've got nothing to lose now. Whereas at 0-0, you've got something to lose. You want to defend. You don't want to give things away. Do you think that was an interesting bit of our mentality? And do you think we kind of, grew into the game any better?
Well, we've shown it a couple of times this season. Coventry, Wrexham. It's almost like you kind of think, like you said, it's a mentality thing, but also I think it's not something that we want. And Eustace obviously doesn't want to go goal down every game, and neither do fans, because I think it's not good on the heart. But I think when you look at the reaction that the team seem to do, that whenever we do go a goal down, we seem to just come out and be a completely different team. And it's like you said, heads don't drop. It's kind of the opposite, and go, like you said, now we've got to go and get a goal. And whereas when you, like you said, we've been 0-0 and kind of the game's kind of just been cagey and nothing's really happened. We don't really tend to want to push the envelope, do we? We just kind of just want to sit and just see if an opening comes around.
We're very safe.
Yeah,
we are very safe. But when that ball went in, I thought Derby were different. They're a different side. It's interesting. Sonny in the comments are saying most of these players came in late with no pre-season, which definitely will be playing a part. But Derby looked different then. Johnston was overlapping down the right. Forsyth, who I thought was excellent, by the way, was overlapping down the left. Clark was getting wide. Weimann was getting wide. And the two big lads were getting into the middle and getting in position to score goals. And Chris, we don't see that enough with Derby, do we? And this has been Derby's problem for a lot of this season. And part of the reason why we've drawn 5 games and only won 1 is the fact that sometimes we just aren't taking those risks. And yet we saw then, if we start taking those risks, we will score goals.
Totally. And, it seems to be that we wait until about the 70th minute, don't we? I mean, we did that against Charlton. We did it against Preston. We wait until the 70th minute and then suddenly it's like, cracky, we better get going here. Otherwise we're going to come up against it. And, speaking to some Southampton fans before the game, they were kind of expecting us to sit in the old fashioned low block, which is what we've been doing. But Eustace seemed to this time just take the handbrake off a little bit earlier. Maybe it was because I think Southampton are probably quite a nice team to play against. I mean, they're not really in the dark arts, are they? They're not very physical, and that was that came to the fore in the goal, which we'll get onto, I'm sure. But they do let you play, and I think once we realised actually there's nothing to worry about here, and we up the tempo a bit, then actually for probably the next 25 minutes, half an hour. It was proper end-to-end stuff. And, I think as the game went on, we probably realised to ourselves, there's, this side are all right, Southampton, but there's not that much to worry about. We can get in amongst them. And it was really refreshing, actually, to see us play with a bit of tempo and actually then go for it. And you look at that and go, well, if we play like that all the time, and, we've got home and away, there's not much to worry about here in this league.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, let's get on to, I was going to talk about the goal, but let's talk about the chances before the goal as well. Because Derby started to create some chances. We started having shots. I mean, Carlton Morris's shot from the edge of the box, quite a comfortable save for the goalkeeper, but still a save all
good
the same.
Feet, though. Very good feet.
Yeah, it was great feet. Shift onto his right foot. And then we got 2 really, really good chances. Both of them fell to Andy Weimann, who the first one he's through on goal and he just doesn't get the right connection on the ball, does he? And it's a really good save, actually, by Alex McCarthy in goal for Southampton. And then the second one, a shot comes in, it gets parried out, and it just falls to Weimann, and he just can't react in time, and it just rolls straight into the keeper's hands. And Derby started to really grow and started to grow in confidence, and that's when the goal comes in. I mean, Bobby Clark, lovely crossfield ball. I don't know what you saw. A lot of Southampton fans on social media saying the defender didn't touch it. I mean, I've seen the replay. I'm pretty confident he does touch it, but
yeah, I think he did.
But he gets the little flick on it, comes straight out. Johnson has the presence of mind to run over, pick that ball up and quickly throw it to Andy Weimann. Weimann drifts an unbelievable ball to that back post. And who's there but Patrick Agyemang to head it into the bottom corner. Now, Jamie Page over in Peru, must have felt some devastation. He wasn't even watching the game, and he just fell to his knees in I don't even know where he is in Peru at the minute. He told me the itinerary. I forgot all of it, but he was pretty devastated to see Agyemang score as his greatest hater. But really good header, got up really well, Cal, and it was a genuinely good Derby goal, wasn't it? And we've had a lot of goals recently that have been like individual talent, right? That Brereton Diaz goal, for example, that was individual talent. He picked up that ball, cut inside, whipped it top corner. But this was a great team goal.
Yeah, I mean, VAR on that throw in there. It was close on that line. But I think, the ball, I think the play just before that to get up into the area. And like you said, we've got a versatile forward in Agyemang. We've also got that in Morris. Top players that if we put it into the right positions, they're going to get their heads on it and be that presence and cause defenders absolute nightmares. And you think as soon as that ball went in, it was just in that right spot where the goalkeeper can't come and get it. Defenders don't know where the striker is, and Agyemang just uses his power and height and nods it. I think it was actually good technique on the header as well, because he heads it down and there's the goalkeeper just left it because there was nothing he could do. He's deserved that. He's got a couple of assists already. For obviously flick on, so I'm calling it assists with yes. And then a goal. I think he's a massive confidence player. He's now going to go and play for the USA and hopefully get a couple of some minutes over there, and then obviously come back after the international break. I think he could be a real handful in this league in the way he's playing so far.
Yeah, he definitely can. And we need to talk about Patrick Agyemang, Chris, because when I spoke to Jess, when we were linked with him, we recorded the video about 2 weeks before he actually signed. And she was saying he's just a bizarre footballer because he has so many unbelievable attributes and then some attributes that are like Sunday League. For example, if he's running at someone, he's really good. If you play a ball in behind, he will shove a defender out the way and put it in the bottom corner, or try and put it in the bottom corner, or smack it into the side netting as he did yesterday. But he'll get in those positions, he'll roll players and he'll create chances. When you put balls into the box, he's got the height, he'll attack it. We saw that. He ragdolled that defender, didn't he? He jumped miles over him, towered over him, great header, bottom corner. But you smack a ball into his feet and he's like one of the worst players I've ever seen in my life. Like some of his first touches are like dreadful. And it's quite funny to watch, actually. I feel like he's one of those players that's like quite an enjoyable watch because you never quite know what you're going to get from him. He could knock it round the corner, beat a man and put a crossover, or he could take a first touch out for a throw-in. There's no kind of middle ground. Chris, what have you made to Agyemang so far, and how do we get the best out of him?
He's a bit like one of those daddy long legs, isn't he? Which I've got about 50 in my room at the moment here. But,
I can see that open window with the light on me.
I have to get some Wi-Fi. That's my Wi-Fi repeater in the background. Anyway, let's not get on to that. That's a bit high tech there going on. Anyway, I digress. The thing with Agyemang is you kind of look at him. I'm not actually sure he knows what he's doing half the time either. And I'm sure there was a moment against Charlton where he was sprinting along and he just kind of fell over because I think it takes that long for the signal to get from his brain to his legs that it kind of just gives up halfway down his body. But the thing, you're absolutely right. You put the ball into his feet, you ask him to hold him up, and it's not his sort of game. He reminds me actually a lot of Peter Crouch, if you remember him all those years ago. He wasn't actually that good in the air for whatever he was, 6'7", 6'8", but on the deck, he's pretty useful, but he's a faster version of it. I think he's one of those players that is probably going to benefit from having Morris up alongside him. I mean, all he needs to do is look at Morris and look how he's bulked out. He can hold the ball up well. He's experienced, and we have to remember that he's very, very new to the Championship and very, very new to actually having all that physicality behind him with the defenders. And I think once he gets used to that, I think he could be a hell of an asset. And you mentioned the goal. I mean, he had the sense to go and bully Ronnie Edwards at the back post. I mean, he wasn't going to get any change out of Wood. He was going to get nothing out of Quasi. But Edwards, who's a bit lightweight, get on the back post and bully him, and it's a goal. So, it bodes well. But what I really liked was the link-up play between the two. I don't know whether you noticed, but there was quite a few nice little interchanges between them. And you think, yeah, there's something there, where they could really cause some problems if they stick together. But whether they will or not is another thing, because how are you going to get Brewster in the side? That's the thing to worry about going forward. But for now, it's going, like a two-pronged attack. So it's lovely to see.
It is, and that goes back to the very first question, doesn't it? Derby's system and how do we make it work? And I think we saw in previous games, Agyemang and Morris kind of trying to do the same thing. And I don't think that really works. And it didn't suit either of them, especially when we had Morris dropping back into centre mid and things like that. Like, I don't think that suited him either. If you've got Morris as Mr. First Touch, up there, winning duels, winning battles. I mean, the people in the comments were saying earlier, they think he might be one of the best strikers we've had in 20 years. And hold-up play, he's definitely up there. He's very Chris Martin, isn't he? In the way he takes it down on his chest, never gets free kicks and things like that, no matter how hard he's fouled. And then you've got Agyemang, who's your man. He's the one Morris wants to flick onto, isn't he? If Morris can get that flick on and Agyemang can run onto the ball, I mean, we saw it. I'm pretty sure it was Morris who played the ball. The one where Agyemang hit the side netting.
Yeah,
lovely ball round the corner. Yeah.
Mm.
And Agyemang, bursts past the defender, is unlucky, hits the side netting, probably should keep it down and go the other corner. But, you can understand the rush of blood in the situation. And that link up is going to be really important for Derby this season, I think. And having the two of them there would be really good. And who knows what could happen, bringing the likes of Rhian Brewster back into the side and the quality they have. It's really good. I like it. And I think it's much more positive. I think a couple of weeks ago, I was a little bit worried about how we'd fit 15 number 9s together and how we'd link them all. But it's looking better, isn't it? It's starting to look a little bit more positive too, which is good. Now, the big debate, which has been raging on in the comments, I've been watching it the whole time, which has been quite fun. Lewis Travis. Now, I'll give my thoughts first, and then I want to go to you guys and work out what you think. So, I don't think Lewis Travis has been that bad. Personally, I think he's getting picked on quite a lot because he's come in from Blackburn, and obviously we are Blackburn B at the minute, and he's come in from there, and he's maybe not 100% hit the ground running. Now, he should really have had 2 assists because Agyemang robbed of an assist with a hair follicle against West Brom. I think he's been all right. The thing for me, and this is what I was moaning about the whole time yesterday, I think he's just being a bit too rash at the moment, and he keeps picking up early yellow cards, and it does my head in because I am rubbish at football, but I play the same position that Lewis Travis plays, and I know that if you rush in early on and smash someone for absolutely no reason and get booked, all you're doing is walking a tightrope for the rest of the game, because all that's on the back of your mind is, I can't foul him, because if I foul him, I'm going to get sent off. I've got to be careful. And Travis keeps doing it early on. I can't work it out. I can't understand why he keeps doing it, because this happens all the time when you see players go in. Ibu Adams I know he picks up a million yellow cards, but most of them are cynical. But when he goes in, if he's not going to win the ball, he'll pull out last second. And, you'll have a bit of physical contact, body to body, whatever. However, Travis is just going flying in. And there was one early on where he just smashed through somebody off the ball. I don't know how he got away without getting a booking. And then he does the same thing 5 minutes later. And it's just like, why? Why are you doing that? Because now you've just got to deal with this for the rest of the game. And he was probably a little bit lucky in previous games not to go. He's been in the same situation quite a few times now. But I think on the ball, he's looked all right. I think he looks decent. He's clearly better on the ball than Ibu, isn't he? That's pretty obvious. But Cal, what have you made of Travis? Because it's been really interesting, because I'm reading the comments here, and some people hate him, some people love him, which is mental when he's played about 4 games. And it's exactly the same on social media as well. What are you thinking?
He's a tough one. I think the thing with Travis, he's come in with false expectations, and I don't know where they came from. People said that he was going to be our answer. He's going to be our dictating player number 6, and he's this amazing player on the ball, and this is the general that we've needed. He's like that Barry Bannon for us, and the I can't remember, Grimes also. Do you know what I mean? And I think he's not that player. And I think that Derby fans, I I don't, like I said, I just don't know where it came from, because there wasn't really anything from Blackburn's side to say that he is that sort of player. Is he a player that wants to get the ball forward? Yes. Is he a player that always looks to try and play a forward pass? Yes. He's more of a blend of Ibu and David Oza, rather than someone like like you said, who is going to dictate that play. And the only thing that I've not liked about him is that rash decision making early on in a game. Do I like that his passion and wanting to get in a referee's face and kind of give a little bit of bite in that midfield? Yes, 100%. But so I think he needs to curb that, because I think if he carries on, then, like I said, suspensions are only going to come his way early on in the season. We don't want that. And like you said, if you bring in on it then an Ibu Adams for maybe an Ozo at the moment because of his fitness, then both of them at the moment are susceptible to a yellow card. So and then you got two central midfielders on yellow cards that, like you said, are walking tight ropes and can't put their full into challenges. And you saw that towards the end of the game, he was pulling out of challenges on the edge of the box, and that's just because he's already on a yellow. And with his relationship with referees, he probably is on that half glass half full kind of vibe with them. So I really like him. I like what he brings, and I think he's a really good captain for us and what we've needed. I just think that he's had an unfair kind of judgment because of maybe the expectations of what he was perceived to be on joining.
Yeah, I mean, that's what Cold Blood in the comments has said, isn't it? If he was on a free or not captain, he'd probably get less grief. That's how it feels to me as well. I think he's come in, he's club captain. Derby fans take the captaincy very, very seriously, as they did with Mendes Lang, who got hammered every 5 minutes last season as well, and Hurahan, who got hammered every 5 minutes the season before. It just seems to be a thing that we do for some unknown reason. But Chris, what have you made of Travis so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think the interesting thing for me looking forward, before I talk about Travis, is that it's almost going to be a case of, is it going to be Travis or Adams? Because you look at Ozo and you look at how well he's doing at the moment and how well he's regarded. And, you're certainly not going to be dropping Ozo anytime soon. But then you look at, but then it's a moot point, really, isn't it? Because, Eustace made it quite clear he wanted the club to pursue getting Travis. We took 2 months or so to get him in the door. We spent a couple of £1 million on him. As you rightly say, give him the captaincy straight away. So, quite frankly, he could run onto the pitch in a Nottingham Forest shirt and smack the ball into the back of our net, and he still would be captain. He's not getting dropped anytime soon. I do agree. I mean, is he the best player I've ever seen in my life? No. But he is an upgrade on Adams, sort of. I didn't realise the sort of player he was until I think, we had someone on from Blackburn and they gave the inside information on him, and he actually is more of a water carrier than I thought. So, he's more of an Adams than he is an Ozo, as you rightly say. And, the difference between the two is that, Travis will get it and his first look will be forwards. And if you look at the Charlton game, the two best chances came in that Charlton game. One was a forward pass from Travis into Clark, and he should have scored and didn't. And the second was a cross for Clark, and we did score for Matt Clark. So he looks forward, whereas Adams will probably just go sideways and backwards. And you can still give the ball to Travis on the edge of your box, and he can probably do something with it and wriggle out of a danger. Ozo certainly can. So, really that's going to be the partnership going forward. And I think it's just going to take some getting used to. But I have to say, I'm with you guys. I'm very surprised at some of the bile that's coming his way. You can hear it in the stadium. And I think perhaps it's just false expectations. People probably expected more. They probably thought we were getting a Matt Grimes, and, we're actually getting something, far, far less. But, he will contribute. But you're right. There's no use to if he's going to be on the sidelines. But, we don't have a bad guy to come in and, pick up the slot if it's going to be Ebu on the bench and, coming in for the last 25 minutes if he gets sent off stupidly.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. But on the point about him being far less than Matt Grimes, I don't think he will be far less. I just think he's got different attributes. But yeah,
he's
like
good
you
as a
say,
player.
yeah, people expected him to be Pirlo and spray passes around like Tom Huddleston used to, and Wayne Rooney used to, and holding midfield and really dictate the game. That's clearly not his game. But he's a decent player on the ball. I think he's better on the ball than he's probably been given credit for by the fan base, but he's not unbelievable on the ball. Do I think he's an upgrade overall as a footballer on Ibu Adams? Yeah, probably. We talk about that forward thinking. The reason why Ibu always passes backwards is because he can't turn.
His first touch.
His touch isn't good enough. He can't receive the ball on the half turn and turn and open up and find space and play passes. That's not his game, and it never will be his game. Whereas Travis can actually do that. Can he do it as well as Matt Grimes? Probably not. Can he do it as well as Barry Bannon? Probably not. But he's got the other side of his game where he's willing to execute someone if they run near the goal. So, that's a different attribute, and I think it'd be really interesting to see how it works going forwards. But I don't think it's helped him that he's played next to Ibu this whole time. It's like we were mentioning with Morris and Ajmang. They were both kind of trying to do the same thing. And then we had two midfielders also kind of trying to do the same thing. We've got too many similar players on the pitch at the moment. So it's nice to see that we've kind of changed it up a little bit. And yeah, I think it definitely got the best out of Ozo having someone like Travis next to him as well, which was.
I also think, Jake, as well, there's going to have to be a little bit of a bit of a sea change in how we look at how we play. I mean, if you think about it, we've not really played through the midfield for about 3 years. We certainly never did that under Warne. Warne filled the side with Adams, and we had Corey Smith and all these other guys. We never played through the middle of the pitch. And, it looks like we're going to start to play through the midfield a little bit more now. So we're going to have to get used to players getting it and, to a certain extent, giving the ball away, because we're just not used to having midfielders who are going to do that. And we're going to have to get a bit more patient with it, I think, as well. And I think that's going to take time to bed in Pride Park, without telling the fan base what to think. But, that's it kind of feels to me that we are going to change our style of play slowly but surely.
There we go, everyone. Chris says...
No.
No, you are right. It'll come in time. I think, overnight change doesn't happen too often in football, does it? And when you got a squad, we'll talk about the subs very soon, but the Warne Brigade came off the bench, let's put it that way. And suddenly our style of play changed very quickly again. I think it's just a group of players that need to adapt to, like you say, this new style of football of actually passing to each other occasionally. And hopefully we can carry on doing that for a little while. But that is something I wanted to talk about, Cal. The subs. Now, the subs confuse me a little bit. I'm not hoping Ozo was injured, but I kind of think if Ozo wasn't injured, I'm not sure why he's come off. That's my view on that. I'd have taken Travis off, like we said, walking a tightrope. Him and Ibu are basically the same player anyway. And then what we brought on, the next ones were Brewster, which is obviously good sub, makes sense. But then we brought on Joe Ward and Caden Jackson. And I thought, to be honest, I felt sorry for Ward because he looked miles off it. And we brought Jackson on as well, who, again, he had a really good chance, didn't he? Maybe, possibly could have done a little bit better. I'm probably being a bit harsh, but he could have kept it down maybe a little bit better. And then Salverson got about 3 minutes off the bench, which, felt very harsh that, Ward and Jackson were coming on ahead of him. What did you make of the subs, Cal? And do you think, because I thought when we brought Ward and Jackson on, it kind of killed the game a little bit and we lost it a little bit. Same with Ibu Adams. What did you think?
Yeah, I mentioned earlier that when when you're playing those sort of players, that especially with Ozo's probably the biggest one. I think a few people have mentioned in the comments. I think he just genuinely he's not fit, and it's the same as Ajmang. He can't last a full 90, and if he's playing the full 90, you're not getting the full out of him because he's spent. And I think Eustace mentioned it in his post match that they need to spend the next 2 weeks or a week and a bit of building that fitness up, because they need him to last longer. They need to be able to last 90 minutes, because when you're bringing on an Ibu, the football goes, the ability to hold on to the ball and retain possession goes. Your Kane Jackson's completely changes the way and dynamic that you play out wide. He's not an inside forward of a Brereton Diaz, of a Clark, of a Aiman. He's someone who just wants to run down the wing, but in quotations. But then you look at, like you said, Ward's. I think same Johnston, I think, is still trying to build up fitness. I think at the moment, Eustace is just doing it because the players that are on the pitch starting are just not lasting. And I think that's something that will just come over time. I think then we will see those sort of players and substitutions start to dwindle. And then the likes of your Brewsters and your Brereton Diaz, your Clarks, your Salversons might then obviously then make more of an appearance. I think Salverson is probably the only one I feel really bad for, but while you're getting the most out of Morris and Agyemang, he's going to struggle. And while their partnership continues to flourish, he's going to struggle to get into the side. But I think he's such a good option off the bench, and Eustace loves having multiple options up top. I mean, he did that at Blackburn. So I think he's still got a place in this team, but I think he will have to really, really bide his time. And I just hope that his Derby County career isn't just come and gone, because I think he's a decent player.
Yeah, I agree. And we've got a comment from someone whose name I genuinely couldn't pronounce, even if I tried. They said both Adams and Travis already one card from suspension. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
And Dom says sending Kenzo on loan looks a bad move. Well, it would have been nice to have some attacking midfielders at some point. But again,
and Thompson's out now for a few weeks, isn't he?
Tomo's out, but he's not a creative midfielder, is he, Tomo? We've got.
I was thinking the options in that middle are now they're not great.
Yeah, we've got a lot of scrappers. I mean, it's like I say, we do seem to have a lot of the same player in quite a few positions, which is a bit disappointing. But Chris, Callum mentioned Salverson there. I feel really sorry for Salverson because I really like him. I think he offers something every time he comes on. He always looks dangerous. I think his movement's great. At some point, he will score another goal. He looked dangerous last season when he played as well. I don't really understand why he's getting so few minutes because, Patrick Agyemang came off with, quite a few minutes to go, 12, 13 minutes to go. And then he didn't bring on Salverson, and Salverson doesn't seem to be able to get minutes at the minute. Every time he comes on, he looks dangerous. He's got nice hair. Chris, why is he not getting the minutes? Yeah, you could get the ponytail, mate. I can see it.
He scored against Charlton, to be fair.
So it's taken 36 minutes. No, I think the problem for Salverson is he's third in line, isn't he? I mean, most of the season we've been playing with one up top. This week against Southampton was the first time we actually went with an out-and-out two, really. It's always been one. So he's always going to be third choice. And the problem is you don't bring in Carlton Morris. Certainly don't bring in Carlton Morris to play him as a number 10 or out wide, left or right. So he has to play through the middle. And everything falls off him, and you could see that against Southampton. All the link-up play was coming through Morris. And you don't spend what did we spend 5-6 million on Agyemang? You don't spend 5 or 6 million on a player to have him sat on the bench either. So those two are going to have to play. So I think, unfortunately for Salverson, I'm not sure where he's getting a game. Again, you can't really put him out wide. He hasn't got the pace. It's not his game. I mean, could you put Agyemang sort of if we went sort of more 4-2-3-1? Could you put him left or right? He's got the speed,
potentially.
It's a possibility, but he's probably more through the middle, like Morris. So right now, it's hard to see where Salverson's getting a start unless someone gets injured. I mean, he might come off the bench in our next man. Sorry, mate.
You know what I mean? He's getting 5 minutes off the bench. Surely he can get 6.
Exactly.
I think it's also the game script, isn't it? If you look at if we're behind, that's the only time he's coming on.
Yeah, really. Exactly. It's going to take someone getting injured, or he's going to have to come and score one in the last minute, I think, to get his chance. But the thing is with Southampton, we don't really know how good he is. I mean, we had a couple of games, didn't he? I mean, he looked sharp against, was it Cardiff last season? I think, where did he nick one? We lost 2-1, if you remember. Was it away from
Cardiff,
home?
yeah.
Cardiff.
Yeah.
And then, other than that, he's hardly featured. So, he could be the the championship version of Haaland, with that lovely hair, or he could be, he could be an absolute dog's dinner. We just don't know how good he is, but he'll get his chance. I mean, this is Derby we're talking about here. I mean, there'll be a raft of injuries coming our way, so he's going to get a chance sooner or later.
Oh no, I can't do it again.
I'm just reading the comments here. We've got a comment from Dom who says Langas should come in and replace Matt Clark because Sanderson's passing skills benefit the team. Just to reflect on that for a moment. If Langas did come back, I think Dion Sanderson, if we stayed with a 4, would be the man to come out. I like him, but I don't know. I just think Matt Clark's quite good at football, and Langas is also quite good at football.
I think Sanderson is putting up a decent fight, though. I think he is.
He's doing well.
Especially, what I really, really like is his ability to read the game, and he comes from behind the striker and nicks the ball off them and stuff. I really like that about him. I mean, one-on-one defending in the box, he needs to work on it.
Yeah.
He's so like up and down, isn't he? Like he'll do something unbelievable and like 5 seconds later just like roll the ball to a striker 3 yards out or something. It's just one
Plus,
of
I
them.
don't want to rush Langas, so
Yeah.
we
Well, it's
we can't afford to get him.
No, not at all.
I agree. Oh no, we've got good options. No, no, it's good. It's good. It's good. It's a good debate to have. It genuinely is. I think Matt Clark being left-footed as well is you can't change that. So, last player I want to talk about is Jakob Vidal Zetterstrom because I think he's been really good last few games. I don't really understand why he took such a hammering before. It seemed really strange to me. I remember coming on here and kind of defending him a little bit because it felt a bit like, why are we picking on him? Like, yeah, he made 1 or 2 errors, but like he's usually pretty good. But everyone just, was saying Josh Vickers is Buffon or something, and we should drop Zetterstrom. But he had a great game yesterday, Cal. I genuinely thought he was really good. Made some really important saves, claimed a few really high balls really well. And I tell you what, he got so much slander for his kicking last season, and it just is good. It turns out, putting it on the byline 90 yards away, you're going to kick it out sometimes. But if you kick it down the middle, it's usually all right. I mean, he's looked really good, hasn't he, recently?
Yeah, and I think he's one of the best shot stoppers in the Championship. I think he is getting better at commanding his area and claiming balls. He's then obviously can use his arms and his legs to start counterattacks. And I mean, he almost went back into the bad books on Tuesday when he nearly rolled it back into his net and Cruyff turned their striker. But I think, I thought he was man of the match because I think without some of his saves, I think we would have lost that on multiple occasions. But I think I can't remember who got it for us. But
Morris
was it. And he was good, but I thought without Zetterstrom's saves, and a couple of them were real vital saves, we would have easily lost that game. And what you need is a comfortable number one goalkeeper in the sticks who's really setting light that position. And what you don't want is when we had the Roos and Allsop and kind of the Marshall kind of, you don't really know who is our starting goalkeeper. For me, Zetterstrom is hands down our starting goalkeeper, and he's growing into it. And I think he's getting that confidence in himself back.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just having a look at the stats. The official man of the match was Andreas Weimann on a Derby side with a 7.8 rating. He got an assist and he played pretty well.
They gave it to Morris in the stadium, didn't they?
Yeah, Morris in the stadium. He had a good game, to be fair to him. He did have a good game, but I don't know. Do I trust the statistical man of the match or the Rams TV man of the match? That's the big question. Which one's more reliable? But Chris, what did you make of Zetterstrom, and was there anyone else that kind of stood out to you?
I echo everything that Callum said regarding Zetterstrom. My opinion of Zetterstrom is that it's wrong to say I don't think he's been coached very well since he started. But if you think about it, when he came in, he was asked, and his defence were asked, certainly on the Warne era, don't give him the ball, and just clear it long. And you mentioned it there that Derby's tactic used to be to smash it to the left-hand side for Fozzie to get his head on to flick it in. And if that's all you're going to do, you're never going to improve as a goalkeeper. But now he's having to play with the ball more at his feet, and you can see that in the games. And his confidence is growing. His shot stopping's always been fantastic. The thing I like about him that you very rarely see from other goalkeepers, he actually comes and catches the ball from crosses. I mean, how many times do you see a goalkeeper just punch it? But he comes and claims it. And, he used to have a very, very good understanding, back in the day with Cashin and Nelson, and I think it's all about having a settled defence in front of you, isn't it? Each party knows what each other's doing. And we're starting to get that back four settled now. We mentioned Sanderson and Clark, whether Langas comes in, fine, whatever. Johnston's clearly going to be the right back. So he's starting to get settled, and he's looking like he's really, really confident. So, I totally echo everything you say on Zetterstrom. I mean, clearly the other player that really caught the eye was Ozo. And an interesting point, I watched the highlights back this morning of the game, and I ended up somehow bizarrely on the Southampton YouTube channel just to get the highlights. But they were raving about him on their commentary, really, really speaking highly. And it suddenly got my alarm bells going that they actually, we need to enjoy Ozo because he's probably not going to be here next season. If you think about the sort of player that he is and the interest that's going to come into him. So he really caught my eye as well. So those two really, really stood out, other than Morris that we've obviously mentioned.
Yeah, I'm going to say Ozo, when he picks up his yearly injury in about 3 weeks' time and
Yeah,
comes
don't
back
say
next
that.
season,
No, don't say that.
No, he's clearly a good player, isn't he? Yeah, so it's good to see us doing well. It's good to have a more positive conversation, isn't it? I think it's been quite negative, not necessarily by choice, but the last few weeks it's been pretty poor. It's been boring, hasn't it? It's been really boring, but Derby's started to grow, and you just got to hope after the international break that things will turn around and we'll start to develop more. John Eustace has now got 2 weeks to work with his team. I know a few are away on international duty, but the vast majority aren't. Zetterstrom, Johnston, both not called up, so it'll be good for them. Johnson especially to get more involved with his position. He's never played in English football before. I think I've seen people again. He's another one that's been a target for some unknown reason.
Some of his crossing is
brilliant. His
Brilliant.
balls into the box are great. His set pieces, some of them were a bit ropey yesterday, but majority of them are pretty good as well. He's a very young lad. He's not played English football before, and he's learning his trade. Yeah. Exactly. He's had to play the back five. He's had to play the back four. He's learning. He's developing. So I've got no doubt that he'll work hard as well and improve. So positive. It's looking a lot better now. I think we're a little bit happier as a fan base. We need that next win. I think that next win will play a huge part, but we'll have to earn one of those going forwards. You never know. We might get one in December or January or February.
What better way to go and get it than Oxford?
Well, that would be nice, wouldn't it? That would certainly be nice. 12:30 kickoff as well. It's so far away. I don't know. Why do we do this? Why do we do this? But thank you so much for listening. If you did enjoy, please do leave a like. Please do subscribe. Everyone in the comments, thank you for joining us. It's been really good fun reading your comments as well. If you're watching back or listening back, let us know your thoughts in the comments too. It's always good. We always have a read, and it's good to see what people think as well, especially if you disagree with us. It's always good to see what people think. Please do leave a like. Please do subscribe. We're very close to, I think, 2,000 subscribers. Is that right, Carl? Am I right?
Yeah,
I'll be right.
Less than 5 off, I think.
Oh my God, unbelievable. And apparently 48% of you are not subscribed. So smash that subscribe button right now if you're not. Although if you're not, you probably haven't listened to 47 minutes of us waffling, let's be real. But yeah, really appreciate it. Give us a rating if you enjoyed it. Thank you so much. Let's hope we can develop as a team and come back after the international break nice, happy, refreshed, and hopefully with a win. So it is goodbye from me.
It's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me.
Playoff push starts now. We'll see you soon. Have a good couple of weeks off. Bye.